Hello, hello, hello. Crafty Chris here for another Scrap Your Scraps Thursday. And tonight we are going to do an inked background with a stamp and finishing it off with a small platform for photos and journaling and some decorative bits. So the first thing we're going to do is getting our stamping and inking done. So I was gifted with a set of these that somebody had that they didn't like. It almost looks like they may have used them for makeup. I'm not sure. Anyway, I am going to try them tonight. So hopefully we will be able to have a success with those. So I need my crafty mat first because I don't want to get my paper mat too messy. And it's easier to clean up ink on a crafty mat. All right, there we go. Okay, so now my theme for this page is going to be the outdoors, and so that could be camping, it could be cottaging, it could be hiking or anything. And so the background is going to have that kind of an image. And I'm going to start with my lightest color first because I'm going to do, sorry, things are falling down. I'm going to do 4 quarters. There, that might be a little better lighting wise, maybe. All right. So I'm going to do 4 quarters. So I'm basically going to merge my colors towards the center. So I'm going to start off with my lightest color first. And I haven't used these in a while, so I'm hoping that they will be okay. Maybe turn them upside down a little bit. Alrighty. So I'm just going to get my brush and load it up with some ink, and starting from the corner I'm going to smoosh my way across the page. When I notice that it's getting a little too light, that means I need to add some more ink, and I'm basically doing the bottom corner of the paper. And I don't mind if it's a little lighter towards the edges where I'm going to blend, because then I can go back in and finish that up. And I don't really want it to look like it's painted, so having some smudgy bits where you can see the actual brush marks is fine by me. I would like the edges to be crispy colored so that it really gives it a finish. Okay, so there we go. There's one. That's yellow. Now, I'm going to remember that this brush is yellow because we have to make sure that we don't intermix. And that's too small. These are weird sizes. Okay, so then my next one is going to be green. And so I'm going to do the same thing. Load up this brush. Yeah, there seems to be some sort of makeup or something on it. Turn my page, and I'm going to start from the bottom. Yeah, this has a totally different thing. Oh, I should mention, this is textured cardstock, so I'm actually working on the back. So it's a little bit smoother. Yeah, these brushes are a little too loose. They're not like real brushes. Real brushes that you get from crafting stores have a little bit more densely packed bristles, and they don't float around the page so much. I mean, this is okay, but it's definitely trickier to use because you can see the lines when you're blending here. Okay, so there we go. Now I'm going to remember that this is my green. Getting messy already. So I'm going to put my green up there. And now I'm going to move into my oceany color, sort of like a turquoisey color. And we're going to use another big brush. Yeah, these are very strange. Sorry, I'm picking out dust and lint and hairs, so we'll have to see how this all works out, but anyway. Okay, so this is our oceany color. We're going to kind of bring that in, and the reason we're bringing this color in is because I like it. So it's not really anything super thought out. And I'm just going to bring in a little bit more in there. Cross over a bit in the center. Make sure those edges are nicely done. Okay, and then my final color is going to be more of a navy blue. Alrighty. There we go. Yuck. And I'm going to use this big massive brush that's kind of weird. Alright, wow, that's a really big brush. It's picking up quite a bit. And making sure I'm not going to mess up my colors. We're going to bring this in over in this corner. And try to make sure that we've got balanced corners. So this is quite a bit darker. I'm likely going to have to go back in and just put a little more yellow there, a little more ocean there, because the green and the blue might be overtaking a little bit. Okay, so we're going to stop there. Oh, that's why I'm getting covered, is because the brushes are making a mess. So, I'm going to get a bit of a water bottle here so I can wipe my hands off. And I will have to wipe down my stamps too, because they seem to be getting messy when I'm done. Alright, so I want to bring some more of the yellow in. And I know that it's going to pick up blue, so that's why I'm doing it last, so that I can just wash it afterwards and I won't use it again. And this is the small brush, which is more impacted, but it's not still trying to keep that texture looking bit there. Trying to even things out a little. Okay, now this is not going to be used again. It's going to get washed. And my white, or my yellow, is finished, so I just want to make sure that I clean it up, because the brushes seem to make a little bit of a mess. But you know what? That's what you learn when you're using your products. Alright, so that's ready to go back. And I wanted to do more of the ocean. Oh, actually, I'm going to use that stamp. Wanted more ocean color, and that's getting messy as well. So I'm going to bring that in from the edge there. But I don't want it too dark. Okay, so this brush is not going to touch anything else. Just going to clean up my pad just a little bit here, because it's gotten a bit messy. Maybe a better idea to kind of stamp onto your pad rather than going right into your pad with your, if you're using that kind of brush. And again, like I said, I don't think that they're proper brushes, to be honest. They don't really work like ones I've worked with at crafting events. And then I don't think I'm going to use the other two, so I'm just going to lift this up and clean off my mat with my water bottle. Lots of ink left over. And what I usually do with this is I use it for, I just blot it on paper so I can use the papers in another project. But I didn't think of that at the time that I started cleaning. So there we go. We're just cleaned off there. Get another paper towel and just make sure this is all clean. Sometimes it looks clean, but there's a haze. There we go. Yeah, see, there's just a little bit of a blue haze, not much. Now we're going to use the stamp pads as stamp pads. And what I want to do is, I know that I'm going to have a mat in the center. Look, there's my fingerprints right there. Ah. Even the best efforts sometimes don't work out. And that looks like ink up there too. Okay. Just a little more water. Oh, there it is. There we go. Don't want that on my projects. Okay, so I'm going to start again with my lightest ink because we're reusing the same stamp over and over and over again. And I am going to be stamping a cluster of stamps in one corner. Now this is the largest plate I have, so this is why I'm using it. I'm not a big fan of these rocking ones because I don't really like to rock my stamps, but it's what I have, so I'm going to use it. And I can just simply lay this on exactly like is on there, but I want to make this more of, well, actually it's not too bad. Let's see what happens. So I'm going to lay my stamps within the lines of the tray, and I want to kind of, I'm not really worried if they're centered or anything because it's not that kind of a project. I don't need to have everything matching, but I want to keep them close together. So as you can see here, I'm building it in the same pattern that's on the mat or on this layout thing or sticky thing, but I'm doing it according to, I'm getting it nice and tight. Tighter than what the project or what the plastic says to do. Gosh, I'm having a hard time talking today. There's another shoe. Well, I think I'll first put this word in here. And then the shoe. Oh, I need to move that a little more. I want to kind of keep it all together. There we go. So that's the top and that's the bottom. Now inking this up is going to be tricky, so bear with me. It's a lot of stamp to ink. So I'm hoping that it won't dry out before I actually do it, because I have one shot at it and that's it. And I usually stand up when I do my stamping because then I can see what's happening a little better. Okay, and I'm just going to lay that stamp about a ½ inch in from the corner, and like I said, you got to rock this one to get all edges, and now you have a monotone layout. So that was with the yellow. Now I'm going to do it with the green. And then after I do it with the green, I will wipe down. Actually, I'm going to do this way. And I try not to get it on the edges. And if you do, you just make sure you rub it off, because this has a little bit of a recess, and if you get it on the edges, it will show up in your. Okay, so that was that way. This is going to turn this way and be. There we go. And now I'm going to wipe this down. First, close my ink. And I have a stamp chamois here that looks god-awful, but it works beautifully. It just needs to, it's hard as rock. You can see it's stiff, but then you add a little water and it becomes pliable again. And it's amazing how much this stamp chamois absorbs in terms of color. And how pliable it becomes. I'm going to do a big reveal in a moment once I've got it all properly dampened. So you can start to see it now. Now it's like cloth in the middle here. And then you just go over your stamp, rub it down. It takes all the color off, and then you just rinse your stamp chamois out with anything that you use for cleaning stamps. And even though it does stain a little bit, it still looks awesome. Whoop, that's slippery. There we go. Just make sure you've got as much of it off as you can. Then we're going to switch to the light blue, which is over here. Put the chamois to the side. And so this is obviously not the scraps part of your scraps. I better do this right side up. But we will be using up scraps on the piece that goes into the center, but I just thought it would be kind of neat to do something a little different in our backgrounds. And you know, you can just use a pattern paper just as easily with the motif that goes with whatever your subject is. But I just kind of really wanted to try this out. Well, this doesn't want to stay on there. There we go. Just needs a little bit of working in. Okay. Just realized that I had my upper stamp upside down in my according to what I wanted it to say and the direction I wanted you to read everything, but that's okay. It's just a background. There we go. And because we have the dark blue, I'm not going to clean the stamp right now. So that's why you try to combine your colors in similar colorways so that you go from light to dark. You can use it more than once without having to wash the stamp. Oh, this is really inking up nicely. This color is really, really, really wet and juicy. Okay. Turn that over. There we go. Fabulous. Okay, so now I can wash all of that stuff later. And now I've got my container of white and black scraps. So I am going to look for a scrap that probably gives me, you know, let's see, let's make it 6 by 6, just so it's going to give us a good layout. Now we want black for the background and white for the foreground. Now I'm looking through my scraps, and my scraps are too small. I can't believe it. I've used all my big scraps up already. Okay, so we'll have to go and search a different, I'll have to get an actual black scrap. Can't believe it. Now let's see, what do I have here? This one is super big. Let's see if I can find something a little bit smaller. 6 3/4 by 6 3/4. What does that look like on here? It's a little small, isn't it? I guess 8 by 8 would really be a little bit, but you don't want to hide too much. Yeah, maybe 8 by 8. So let's see if I have something 8 by 8. This is more than good. It's a little too big, but I think that'll work. What about this one? That's not quite big enough. So going through my scraps, just checking out. This is actually a little smaller, so I can do an 8 by 8 out of this. This one is still big enough that I can use it for something else. So there's my white piece that I'm going to use, and I'm going to have to find myself a piece of black out of my regular stash. And then, of course, after I use that, it becomes scrap and goes back into my scrap container. All right, and I have black right here. Everything is handy. That's the best thing about having an organized space. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut my 8 by 8 out of this. And with cardstock, I like to use my guillotine because cardstock is pretty heavy. And I don't really like to chew up my blades on my other trimmer that uses blades. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut down. So I have 8 inches. Make sure it's nice and up there. Trim off this piece. What am I going to do with that? That's going to be kept. It's a good scrap. And then I'm going to turn it around and go 8 again. Oops, that's 9. Don't want 9. 9 is a little too big. All right, and then of course this goes in my scrap pile. All right, so here's my 8 by 8 piece. Now I just want to get a sense of what that really looks like. So that's very cool. I love that. Okay, so I'm just going to mat it with an 1/8 over, so a 1/16. So it's just a very thin line of black. So that means I'm going to be matting it with an 8 and an 1/8 inch square of this. But we're not going to have the whole square used because we want to save paper for our scraps. Okay, here's 8. 8 and an 1/8. Whoop, come on. There we go. Nice big piece of scrap. And 8 and an 1/8. There we go. So technically speaking, this now, when you put it on here, is just going to have a very thin line of black all the way around it. Okay. Now, I don't want to waste this much. So I'm going to cut in 1 inch from the sides. And I can do that 2 ways. I can use my cutter, or I can use an X-Acto knife and ruler, a metal edge ruler. Seeing as I am trying to save my blades, but I am very lazy when it comes to wanting to cut things out from the centers. I'm going to show you on your trimmers that have where you're able to measure on both sides of the cutting line. So I want to leave an inch in to where my cut line is. So I'm going to line this up with 1 inch. All right. I don't want to start cutting until an inch down. So this is where my cut line is going to start. And if you look at your cutter, you have these fancy little blades that have pointers, so you can actually properly line up. And if I'm going to bring it down a little bit so I don't have to put my face in the camera, lining up inch on that side, and then my little line is going to be right on an inch there. And I'm going to draw my cut down, and I know that I'm 1/8 of an inch over, but I'm just going to go to that 1 inch line there. And I know it's a little thicker on one side. So this is going to be 1 1/8 across the bottom. And I'm going to start that inch and measure down that inch. And then this is going to be 1 1/8 as well. And we're going to get to an inch here. And then I just have an inch on this side. Alrighty. And then this piece now becomes a piece for another project. And this is not going to show anything because it is going to be hidden underneath our white. So let's do that first. We're going to adhere our white cardstock. Now I have flat cardstock. You can use textured cardstock. This is textured cardstock, so I don't mind having a bit of texture around the outside edge. You barely see it anyway. And so now I am going to run my adhesive, knowing that it's an inch wide. And I can put stuff in there, but I'm going to want to play with this before I actually get it on the page. I really just want to get it on its mat at the moment. And try to keep it centered best as I can. There we go. Uh-oh. There we go. So there's our mat. And all it does is it pops the white from the page. You see how much that pops out? So when I'm using black, I really minimize the amount of black I use. I don't do a nice thick border around it. I just use a very thin line around. So it's a 1/16 of an inch on either side and a 1/16 of an inch at top and bottom. All right, so there we go. So this is where we're going to lay it out. So I think I actually will set that down. And put a couple in there. Now, I got to make sure that I'm kind of eyeballing this to be in the center, and that's what I use my background mat for. And I know that it's an 1/8 inch bigger. And this piece of paper is a little bit off kilter. So let's see. Does that look even? Looks a little wonky. See, now I think it's my camera that's a bit wonky because I'm looking at what you're seeing and it's not what I'm seeing. Let's just zoom out just a tiny bit so we can all see a little better. There we go. Yeah, that looks pretty even. I I think that looks pretty even. Okay, and commitment. There we go. Now look how pretty that is. That is just all kinds of fun. Really loving that. Oh, yeah, this is really crooked. That's a little better. Okay, so this is really bright and cheerful. Okay, so the next step is figuring out our pictures. And I want to say that I'm going to use my little, what do you call it? The thing that I always use. My mats to figure out what I'm going to do in terms of layouts. And I think I have enough room here. I'm going to do a 4x6 and maybe a 3x4 there. So I'm just going to grab, you've seen these before, my mat bases, just to give me a sense of where my photos are going to go. And yes, it's white on white, but we're going to change that shortly. So I just want to check sizes. So am I going to go for a 4x6? Yep, that gives me a little room for journaling at the top. And a 3x4. And a 3x4. I want to have room for a title. Let me use a different one so you can actually see it. Maybe I don't have a different one that's darker white. Is that, oh, that's no more visible. Anyway, I'm thinking like this. So they're going to crisscross either vertically or on an angle. I'm not really sure. Well, everything's kind of angled up, so why don't we have them on an angle, or like properly angled into each other. And this is going to go over a little bit. And these are going to be straight photos. Or am I going to mat them? See, I have an idea of where I'm going with things before I see you guys, but then as I'm doing things change. Which is, I guess, a good thing. Just want to get all my mats together here. And put my little hook in there. Yeah, so I think that size photo is the perfect size for these, for this area. So we're going to stick with that. And my hook thingy, there we go. And put away those. Okay, now this is where we're going to use some washi tape, because we need to get rid of, and not get rid of, but use up that washi tape. Now I do have some that are already here, and they have some similar colors to what I'm working with. Whoop, come on. But this one says artsy. I don't really like that. Let's see. That's kind of cool. So I'm going to need about, it's going to go behind. This one, let's have this go along the bottom. So I'm literally making it up as I go. I want to have the drips, the paint drips coming down. I'm going to put it about 1/8 of an inch from the bottom. And it's going to go straight across, just like that. And I want to vary the sizes of things. So we've got blues and yellows in here. Let's see what this looks like. I may have to go grab some other colors, because these aren't very hunterly colors, although I do like this one. But now I've got it stuck in here. I can't reach it. Where is my... there they are. I'm going to get my... Come on. There we go. Have tweezers, will travel. They're my favorite tool. They do a lot of jobs. Okay, so I have now this, and I'm not going to go all, because I know that I'm going to be going behind a photo. So this is kind of going to mount here, and this is going to be a little over here. I don't need as much of the tape. So I think I'm going to take, we'll kind of make this one a little bit shorter. And I'm just going to split the space. Let's see, if I put that there, I want everything to kind of stop around here because I want some space for my journaling. So I think I'm going to split the space and put this guy a little bit shorter, but try to balance him equally. There we go. Artsy is going to be covered up, so I'm not worried about that. I think I might take a little more of that, a slightly longer piece, maybe around there, and tear it. And I think that's going to go up here. And I do have to stand up to see this. This looks like it might be a little crooked. There, that's a little better. That's a little better. This guy's going to be over here. This guy's going to be here. So I just need a couple of other kind of campy motif or colors. Okay, I have a couple of other yellows. Or yellows and greens and mixes. So let's put, this one is new, so you're going to have to see how this one comes off. Always the first little bit, if it hasn't been used, is good to have it pulled off. There we go. Maybe a little bit down here, because that's a nice change. And then some of this, whoop, yeah, I haven't used this one in a while. So again, also with washi tape, you do pay for what you get. So if you're getting inexpensive washi, you're getting problems. The more expensive the washi is, the better it is at lasting in terms of not drying out and not getting so sticky that you can't use it. So it is one of those things that if you plan to have washi and you plan to use it regularly, you want to have some that is not going to run you into trouble with trying to get it off the roll like this one is. All right, now I just got to be gentle. There we go. That's all I'm getting, which is fine. There. And we have some of the blue. Like it's a total difference in how it rolls off as to go. I'm gonna put him in here. Cool. Take the first little bit off because it's been sitting around for a while. And I'm gonna have this face away from my photos rather than to my photos. You know what? I think I need to move this down a little bit. Ooh, this is really good adhesive washi. Never mind. I think I will just put this, maybe move this one up slightly. Oh, this one can still peel. It hasn't really stuck permanently yet. Awesome. I'm going to move this one down, give a little space. Awesome. And this one will go on top. Alrighty, there we go. So there's our beginning pieces. Here's our photos. This can even come over a little bit more. There we go. Little bit of color there. I think I need to matte these, but anyway. Now, I am going to grab some titles. See if I have anything with an outdoors theme. So I have some of these things that are hiking outdoors like things, but they're not really the colors that I am looking for. Could trim that, and that would be a green. That might work. Roughing it in the brown. Nah, I'm gonna say no to those. They are not the right colors. Now I do have some other things here. This says go, and that is a bicycle-like thing. I don't know if I'm going to use these. I'm just chilling. Our happy place is the wrong color. Okay. What do we got here? Wander, boot. Nah, nothing there. Oh. And then I have going to the woods. Going to the woods. That's cool, but it doesn't go with what I have. Oh, look at this bear. That bear is cute, but not for this page. Alrighty. And no. But I am liking this, and it's going to need some inking, so I'm going to have to get my ink set again. Now, you may have something all ready to go. I just happen to have this, and it's Escape to Nature. And I love it. So I'm going to have to do some inking on that one. And I'm going to use it because I can. I'm not sure about these yet. I'll have to think about those. And I will show you how to ink this in just a moment. I also am going to create some of these icons so I can have, actually, you know what, I don't even need them if I have that Escape to Nature. Perfect. Okay, so here's what we're going to do with this. We're going to ink this. Again, I'm going to get out my mat, and I'm going to get out my pad. Yeah, I think I want it to be dark, so I'm going to go with the dark blue that I was using. And I have a matching pen for this dark blue. So I happen to be lucky to have a matching pen for this dark blue, so I can go in it and around the details. But basically, I am just going to ink it as if it's a stamp pad. And just get it to a point where it looks a little rough, like it's, you know, been weathered. and it has a bit of texture to it. So if you look at this, it's not completely inked perfectly. It has some of the background showing, and it looks kind of like a metal frame. So if you're using these cardboard die cuts that have no color to them, that's a great way to make things look older, is just to stamp right on top of them. Let me grab my water so I can clean up that spot again. I usually don't use paper towel for inking. I have a cloth I use just to be more ecological, but today is I'm not organized in that way. And so now I am going to keep this and keep adding color to it. So I let it dry and I use it again and again and again. And then I use that in my work. Okay, so that stamp is done. Now, when this is dry, well, we'll see if my fingers get dirty. I just use the matching pen and I just go along the outside edge. I don't worry about the insides because the insides will appear dark anyway because they'll have lots of shadow. But I do go around the outside edge because that can have a tendency to show. And this I actually do solid, so it's solidly done. There we go. And that's it. And there is my faux metal sign in blue to go with the layout. My hands are not dirty, so that is a bonus as well. Okay, so let's bring this over here. And look at how great that is. Now imagine that these are photos because they have no color in them right now. So we are going to push that right into that corner with it overhanging. I think we should probably overhang it just a little bit so you get some of the color from behind. I am going to have my journaling in here, and my pictures are going to go here, and I'm going to have this picture line right up with that. So I am going to trace my 4x6 photo with a pencil line very lightly so I know when I go to find those photos where I'm going to stick it. Okay, and it's going to go right along there. So there's my 4x6 photo. And then this guy, he might be a little too big, I think. So this is me second guessing all the time. Second guessing Chris. Yeah, I think he's a little too big. I want more of this showing. Okay, so that was a 3x4. What if we go to a 3x3 and see how that looks? And then the other option is a 2x3. So here's a 3x3. Still wide. So I think I'm going to go with a 2x3, which I don't have any of. Well, it's a good opportunity to make one. Add to my list. Okay, 2x3. I just happen to have some paper right here. Cool. All right. This is a scrap from earlier today. I'm going to make this 3 inches long. Oh, it's not even, so I'm going to have to even that out. And even that out to 3x3. There we go. And now we're going to run it 2 inches. There we go. And there's our 2 by 3. Yeah, I think I like that better because it just gives us a little more of that decorative border that we spent some time and money on. So we should see it. Alrighty. So this guy is going to go there. I'm going to glue him down. This one we already have mapped out. So this one we're just going to do another light line. This is the 2 by 3. Whoop. Okay. So this is 2 by 3. Okay, I like that better. Much happier. Beautiful. Okay, so now let's get this guy glued down. Now to glue these things down, the easiest thing to use is a pen glue. If I have one handy here. I did have one handy. Oh, there it is. So, and all you do is just draw a line around the outside edge. I hope this one doesn't dry too quickly. And a little squiggles in the bigger parts. Some of these little fancy tips might need a little bit. So they stay down. Okay. Then you turn it over. Got to stand up again. And we place it on our mat. There we go. Stick it down. Yeah, it dried too quickly on the top. But it's staying. That's all I need. All right, now, do I want a black border? I don't think I do. As far as the black border for this layout, when I get the images in there, I think I'll make that decision at the time I put the images on. Ooh, I wasn't paying attention. And you know what? That didn't stick very well. So, let's try a different pen. This one is much better, much thicker. Stays a bit wet. I think that other one is for like small things. I don't really know. Actually, you don't get. Just make sure these little bits. Let's see. Stuff. Don't want to lose it. There we go. I was over top of where my photo was going to be, so I have to reposition it. There we go. Yeah, that sticks way better. Ooh, getting it all over the place. So if you get some leftover bits on your paper, just let them dry, and then you can go in with a glue eraser and erase them off. You've got to be careful with your inked paper because it will take the ink off as well. Sometimes you can just roll it with your finger and get it off. Alrighty, so now let me just put this back in place here. This is there, this is there, this is there. Yes, I think I am going to decide whether I want to have the Is that crooked? I can't tell. My camera is giving me a weird image. I'm going to decide if I want a thin black background or not. And what I'm going to do here, so that I remember that I need lines there, I am going to see if sometimes I pick up these little things and I don't know if I'm going to use them until I use them. So I got this little mat thingy that I'm just going to put some lines up there. And I don't need to keep those there. So I'm just going to see where the edge of my photo is. And the edge of my paper, kind of make it so that it's lined up. Just lightly draw lines. And these lines are like super thick. So I am going to go in between them. And so I'm going to try and line them up. There we go. All right. So now I have all kinds of penciled lines there. So I know that that is where my journaling is going to go. All right. And I'm not sure about these, to be honest. I don't know if they would add anything into the what's going on here. I think I'm going to leave them off for now until I get the pictures, and then I'm going to decide. The other thing that I can do is later, if I decide that I need something else on that page, I can go in with my little stamps and create images that I can fussy cut and maybe put a little foot on the side of that, or add a tree, to the bottom here. So I can go in and add those elements after the fact. I might even add 2 trees. I'm just seeing something now that I like. So you can add a couple of trees that have been cut out and colored in the right color. So that's the other thing that you can add in. I'm going to leave it at that because these are kind of personal decisions that you would want to make. But basically, this is our creative class for today. And I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope that you will join me again next Thursday for a totally different idea. So thank you for showing up, and we'll see you later. Bye.